Hey everybody, and welcome back to Franciscan Fridays at the Shrine. I'm Brother Pius Gagne here with Father Luke Mary, and again, an encouragement to like, subscribe, tell your friends. You could even, take out a billboard if you want and put it up. I'm just kidding. But today we have a really wonderful topic, and leave it to you, Father Luke, to kick us off.
Brother Pius, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Here we are. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the third joyful mystery of the Rosary. That is Christmas, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. What could we say? Oh, what a great topic. You know that Franciscans, since the times of St. Francis, we have a great love for Christmas. That's really our favorite feast day of the year.
Absolutely.
St. Francis in that little village of Greccio in Italy had the inspiration of recreating the scene with the animals, and they had midnight mass out in the midst of this recreation of Bethlehem, and the baby Jesus statue, I think, miraculously came to life in his arms, and some of the hay that was given to the farmers cured their sick animals, after the fact, and then the tradition of the Christmas creche kind of comes back to that time, St. Francis, and the Incarnation and the humility and poverty of the baby Jesus. And so there's a lot to be considered in this mystery. I thought I would just begin by noting that our experience of Christmas and the Nativity here at the Shrine of Our Lady, there's two things, one of which is our Rosary Garden. So we have this Rosary Garden, this paved walkway through the woods, where all the mysteries, joyful, luminous, sorrowful, glorious, are all there. And we have our, like a little cave, little stable for the baby Jesus. And to note that we have these doors that kind of like they're like kind of fence, like a fence gate door. And I would always open them. And then inevitably, I don't know who, maybe leprechauns or trolls or, like fairy people would be closing the doors, it kind of became this game. But my intuition was that the meaning of Christmas, the meaning of the Incarnation is that the doors are no longer shut. But with the coming of Jesus, especially redemption and salvation, the doors to heaven are now open. And so I would always no, we have to open these doors because the meaning of this mystery is that he's opening the doors,
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So I know, obviously, we love walking that rosary pathway through the woods.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And there's something about the simplicity of it, right? Like, I think that is a touchstone of Bethlehem, is that it's not this moment that, except for the shepherds, right? I often think about this, like Mary and Joseph probably didn't hear the angels or hear the glorias that they sang. Like, for them, what they heard was animal sounds of various and sundry types and the crying of the baby Jesus.
Right.
And
there was an author that said that there was a miraculous star that led the Magi. There was a vision of angels that led the shepherds. But Mary and Joseph heard the sound of the animals and the sound of the baby crying.
It's so... And I think, for me, like, seeing that in our Rosary Garden is often a reminder that God comes in extremely unexpected ways. And I think that's a tremendous aspect of this mystery. Like, God is just so humble. He's so humble.
In his letter, St. Francis writes about that, right?
Yeah.
In Bethlehem, but in the Eucharist, behold the humility of God.
Look at the humility of God. And I constantly go back to that. It's something about the heart of Franciscans, right? As you said, like Christmas is our, it's just so wonderful. And to think, like, it is the singularly greatest moment for our humanity up to that point, right? That God literally unites himself to a true humanity, the Word made flesh. Like this, what is greater? Nothing. And yet, pretty much everybody missed it, except for some shepherds in a field, and it's also this, like the poetry of it, this light in the darkness that starts very, very small, which brings me to the other aspect of what happens here at the shrine.
Before you go there, hold that thought.
Go ahead.
So when I'm walking the Rosary Garden here and praying my rosary, I'm often also walking your dog, Bosco.
Oh, that's true.
The official mascot of the shrine here.
Right.
And of course, you have taught me, how to care for him with walking with the leash, which is really helpful if he's trying to run after other animals or trying to eat things he shouldn't be eating or whatever. And I had this day where I was walking and I had the rosary in one hand and his leash in the other hand, and I'm aware of like the reasoning behind the leash to help guide him, where on his own he would just run helter-skelter like all over the place. And it dawned on me that the rosary was my leash.
Wow.
And that the prayer of the rosary, that Mother Mary's holding my hand and kind of guiding me and helping me not to run after things I shouldn't be running after, or eating things I shouldn't eat, or whatever,
Yeah.
So just to give a little shout out to Bosco, we need to get him on the podcast eventually.
Absolutely.
And when we were new here, we have little statues of the sheep around the baby Jesus, and he would go up and sniff them and bark at them.
That's right.
Like wondering what kind of animals are these,
Exactly.
Like, it was so funny.
Exactly.
But go ahead. You're going to talk about the other thing we do.
So one of the things that we've brought to the shrine, which is a favorite, I hope it's a favorite of the people. It's certainly a favorite for us.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a couple of years ago, we started amassing all sorts of Christmas decorations. And for a couple of years now, we create this whole outdoor prayer experience for Christmas, with Christmas lights, with, and there really is, like, it's more than just like the random stuff, right? Which, if you drive around during Christmas, you see everything from, really, really beautiful nativity scenes and things going on to, like, I remember when we were, we had some benefactor money and we're looking for extra stuff. There was like this extremely creepy thing that looked like it belonged more in Halloween, of like Jack Frost. If I saw that thing as a little kid, I probably would have had nightmares about it, But that aside, it's so beautiful. I don't want to spoil it. So if you haven't been, come next Christmas. It'll be even bigger and better than it's ever been. But there's a real movement. We're telling a story in and through the decorations and the lights. And I think one of the most fantastic aspects of that for me is every night we're like running to plug stuff in, and, there are no plugs near what we need to plug in. So we're like, it's pretty remarkable.
That's its own story.
Exactly.
Like, how do we get electricity everywhere? Yeah, we figured it out with that. We get by with a little help from our friends.
That's right. Lots of friends. But one of the things that really is striking is how dark it is here
at nighttime.
And how, for most of our religious life, we've been in cities where it's extremely bright. Obviously, you grew up in Indiana where, maybe there was a little bit less light pollution. But for me, I grew up in a suburb of a city, and it's so bright. And out here, it was so dark. And obviously, like that time of year, it's already dark. And when we plug that stuff in, you can literally see it from miles away, all of this light on the hill, which
and we always joke our neighbors, their electricity gets dimmed.
That's right.
We're taking all the electricity.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, it's striking.
Yeah. It's something like Chevy Chase from that movie when he plugs in the lights.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, when people decorate their yards, if you're on a highway or a road, you drive by, maybe you see the decorations for like 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's some of these roads, it's dangerous to slow down or stop. Sure. You're going to have an accident. But here at the shrine, so you stay in your car and you drive in. And of course, it's just a big, long driveway. Mm-hmm. And you can take your time and you can see. And of course, we've developed the story of salvation history. Yeah. In kind of some artistic and creative and interesting ways, like the backstory as to why did he come? When Jesus is coming, what does it mean? Well, it means that we're being saved from sin. Yeah. So we even have a little bit of like a Halloween kind of thing that kind of shows sin, like a spider web and a big spider. Mm-hmm. Sin is like a spider web that we get entrapped in, things like that. And of course, the Annunciation, Mother Mary with the angel Gabriel, and some of that, we've had some friends help us with some interesting ways of doing it. It gets so windy out here some of those inflatable things that kind of blow over all the time. So we've been experimenting.
Yeah.
But and then of course our parking lot where we have these kind of pavilion with these solar panels, but underneath is this pavilion where we basically recreate Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And we've had some fun with kind of an artistic way to present the image of Bethlehem and the babe and the animals, and in a way that's really edifying and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, to sort of bring it back to the Rosary, an aspect of the Incarnation that, again, I find so beautiful, and I think is so important for our time, is just how driven we can be by fear.
Okay.
And fear can taint our relationship with God so profoundly,
And we're not talking about the gift of fear of the Lord.
Correct.
Which is more like awe and reverence, but rather the bad kind of fear that the Bible says perfect love casts out all fear.
Exactly. And I think, the fear can sort of find itself on two extremes. The fear that God is terrifying and I need to keep him as far away as possible, because if he comes close to me, he's going to make me suffer. It's going to be terrible, right? Or the other fear, which I think is more subtle and can afflict devout people, which is this scrupulosity, where I'm constantly checking every little thing. It's basically like if OCD got faith,
Exactly.
And you really can just be tied up in knots. And I think one of the gifts of this mystery is that God shows us that he wants to disarm all of that fear, that he wants to really just completely dismantle it. Like, I don't really know of anyone who's afraid when they meet a baby. Right. At least, afraid in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm in danger. Certainly, it's a scary thing if you're a parent and you're like holding your baby for the first time. You're like afraid you're going to break it,
Right.
Or if you get pregnant and it's a crisis pregnancy, obviously that can induce fear. I don't want to negate that. But in the presence of a baby, the baby's not going to hurt you. Well, maybe if they grab your beard and give it a little tug.
It's happened.
It's happened more than once. But God just totally disarms that fear. And what's fascinating is that first stage of psychosocial development that psychologists talk about is the development of trust versus mistrust and distrust, right? So the very first experiences we have in our human life are either we learn that we can trust our parents and the world is relatively predictable, trustworthy, right? We can entrust ourselves to someone.
A sense of security,
right,
and peace,
security, safety,
yeah.
all that. Mm-hmm. Or we learn that people will hurt us, things will hurt us, and so we need to constantly be on our guard. Or the opposite of that is not the opposite, but another way that expresses itself is a misplaced trust in people we shouldn't trust, right? And there's a lot more to be said about that.
Sure.
But what's beautiful is that the baby Jesus, who in his humanity, on some level, again, in some way in his humanity, he's learning trust through the goodness of Mary and Joseph, also teaches us that God is trustworthy, that God is not dangerous, that God is not looking to like catch us in doing something wrong, or is a tyrant who wants nothing but his own will to our detriment, but that he's tender, he's gentle, he's loving, and he wants us to come close.
That's so good. Thank you.
Yeah.
You always bring that perspective. I thought we would conclude by maybe telling the story. We don't want to sensationalize things, but the first year that we did the Christmas thing. You know, it was so much hard work. We made so many mistakes, right? First time you do something, you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so in that year, we had a thing where we had a whole team of people helping us every evening around 4 or 5. It's starting to get dark. We'd be running around the campus, plugging in all these extension cords, like I don't know how many 200-foot extension cords. And then at 9 p.m., when it was over, we'd be running around unplugging. Well, that first year on Christmas Day, we didn't have any volunteers because everyone's with their families, which is as they should be. So it was just the two of us, and it's nobody here. It's like really, we're out in the hallowed hills of Warren County, New Jersey. And I started down by the road and you started up in the parking lot. And the plan was we just keep plugging things in and we'll meet each other. Well, as we're going, I am starting to smell the most beautiful scent of incense I have ever smelled. And I am like looking around like, where is this coming from? And we're in the woods. There's like nobody around and anything. And then I went over to another part of the shrine and I didn't smell it. It was only along the pathway where we had set up all these like displays. And then we finally meet in the middle and you shared with me
the same thing. As we started and I was plugging stuff in, this beautiful smell of incense, you know, kind of like almost a rose incense kind of thing. Yeah.
And at this point, I somewhat feel comfortable saying, I think we had a miracle here.
Yeah.
As there was literally no explanation.
Yep.
And then that night I had 3 other people text me, we love the light display. By the way, where was that incense coming from? It smelled amazing.
Yeah.
And it was like so strong. The only time I've smelled incense that strong is like when I'm holding the thermal and it's like in my face.
Yep.
And it was really the most beautiful incense I've ever smelled. And there was like a presence with it. The presence of God, of the whole, you know, just this reverence and holiness. I was like, what is happening? And of course, the gifts that the baby Jesus received from the 3 magi were
gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
So, you know, we just want to kind of honor that, this holy shrine where we're serving as chaplains. We have this beautiful, for me, it felt like a confirmation from the Lord. We're doing all this work and all these volunteers and trying to pull it together to do this beautiful Christmas light thing. And we just felt like a confirmation from the Lord that it was pleasing to him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, that the idea of the aroma of Christ is something that St. Paul talks about. And I think, you know, in big ways and in little ways, God comes to us in our lives. And so grateful that we have this experience here at the shrine. And certainly an invitation to everybody. Come Christmas time, please come and see us here. But any time of the year, you can come and pray at the Rosary Garden. And certainly this mystery of the Rosary is one that we could spend the rest of our lives thinking about, praying about, talking about, and just an invitation, you know, maybe as you're, you know, watching this, even though it comes out on Friday, it's okay to pray the other mysteries of the Rosary on a Friday. Spend some time with the baby Jesus in the manger and get to know him there, get to experience the beauty of, as St. Francis would call him, the babe of Bethlehem.
Amen.
Amen.
So again, thank you for listening this time. If you would like to like or subscribe or leave us some comments, that helps the algorithm. If you want to make a donation to Our Lady Shrine, bluearmyshrine.com, and we'll see you soon.